Portman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. When we said we could not support the bill in its original form, it's because we had no detail on how we could justify giving this Secretary of State a blank cheque of £8 billion of taxpayers' money. And in the intervening 2 months, I'm afraid we've not learned anything that gives us confidence. We haven't seen a business... Well, you hasn't told us anything. We've not seen a business plan. We've not seen a framework agreement. We've not seen anyone who can explain how this is different from the UK infrastructure banks, which are set up to do exactly the same thing. We know that there will be a headquarters in Aberdeen, but with a head that will be based 360 miles away in Manchester. We know that that same head doesn't think that the scope of Great British Energy is to reduce bills. And let me remind the Secretary of State that in an interview that he made in June, he not only said he was ready to launch Great British Energy within days, so he should have this information, but he said, and it would lead to, and I quote, a mind-blowing reduction of bills by 2030. But now we know that the Secretary of State has completed the embarrassment of the bright-eyed MPs behind him by forcing them tonight to vote against their own election promises. Tonight they have voted against holding Great British Energy accountable for cutting people's energy bills by £300 and for creating 650,000 jobs. He talks about hanging things around people's necks. Those are the promises he got his colleagues to make over and over again in the election, and we will see what the electorate remembers. These are not trivial matters. People's energy bills, people's jobs, businesses' ability to succeed in this country. Because the risk is that this government is heading towards a 2029 election where industries have been lost and bills have gone up. Exactly the opposite of what the electorate has been promised. That's not my argument, Madam Deputy Speaker. That's the argument of the respected energy and climate economist, Dieter Helm. The Secretary of State, whether he's talking about Great British Energy or his plan for a zero-carbon grid in 2030, he likes to talk in slogans, he repeats his political mantras, but he doesn't deal in detail and he doesn't deal in fact. He knows that Great British Energy does not have the power to reduce household bills. That's why tonight he has refused our attempts to hold him accountable for his own promises. He argues that if we ramp up renewables at breakneck speed, it will lead to cheaper energy and greater security. Yes, I believe he just said that. But the latest renewable auction, which he bumped up, will increase people's bills by £5. And the Secretary of State has advertised to multi-million-pound energy companies that he will be buying whatever they are selling, no matter the cost, until 2030. I think he referenced a few and said that they welcomed his approach. I can understand why. I know he doesn't have a business background himself, but you don't need one to understand what kind of signals that he is sending out. He hasn't modelled the cost of constraint payments, network costs or green levies. He's deprioritised exciting new technologies like small and advanced modular reactors, which come online after 2030, and he refuses to address the question of dispatchable power. If not gas, then what is he arguing for in its place and how much will it cost? In fact, far from making energy cheaper and more secure, what he is going to do is send people's bills through the roof, and more people are sounding the alarm about whether he'll even be able to keep the lights on, something that we were able to do in the height of an energy crisis. So tonight they've shown their true colours. They have voted against making their own energy company accountable. And if he cannot even stack up his own election promises, why should we back him on this bill?